A very good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to all. I, Dr. Pallavi Saxena, SSC member of iLEAPS, and Dr. Samina, iLEAPS IPO, welcomes you all on the occasion of our first talk in iLEAPS Global Colloquium Series, episode 5. So, with a very good response received from the previous speakers as well as from the audience, we have started this series in 2022, and that's why we are continuing in 2026 also. So before I go into the detail, let's have a very brief intro about iLEAPS, what the iLEAPS is. So iLEAPS is Integrated Land Ecosystem Atmosphere Processes Study, which is a global research project of Future Earth. iLEAPS provides understanding of how interacting physical, chemical, and biological processes transport and transform energy and matter through the land atmosphere interface. The prime purpose of this colloquium is to introduce the scientific society people with the distinguished and significant work of eminent scientists from different parts of the world. It is a very bright opportunity for ECRs to interact with the distinguished speakers and establish the bridge between the ideas and the knowledge through this platform. So in this series today, we have Dr. Atul Srivastava, who is Scientist A and Officer in charge of Delhi branch, Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, New Delhi. He joined in June 2008 and presently working as Scientist E and heading the center as an officer in charge. His main research interests are to understand and quantify aerosol characteristics and their direct and indirect climate implications through measurements and modeling. He published 145 research papers in peer-reviewed journals, and the total citation is approximately 7,500 and H-index approximately 48. He also published 7 book chapters. He was nominated for the INSA Medal for Young Scientist in 2012 to 2013. He received prestigious Humboldt Fellowship for working visit in Tropos, Germany in 2015 and FinCL plus Bridges Asia Research Award for visiting scientist at FMI Finland in 2019. He was listed in the world rankings of the best environmental scientists for the years 2023 and 2024 given by research.com. He supervised 5 PhD and 20 master students for their thesis work and currently supervising 1 master and 6 PhD students from different universities. He is editorial board member of Scientific Report, a Nature Portfolio Journal, and guest editor of the international journals like Sustainability and Remote Sensing. So today he will talk about the atmospheric aerosols, which are tiny particles with their outsized role in the climate change. And he will also talk about their assessment, which are very essential to reduce their uncertainties in both direct and indirect climate forcing. So I'm again welcoming Dr. Srivastava. Now the floor is all yours. You are
Professor,
muted.
yeah.
Thank you for your kind introduction, Dr. Pallavi. So, okay. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, right.
So, first of all, I would like to thank to iLEAPS, especially to Dr. Pallavi and Dr. Samina for inviting me to deliver this talk on in iLEAPS Global Curriculum Series. The topic of my talk, as already mentioned by Dr. Pallavi, is the atmospheric aerosols, the tiny particles with their oversized role in climate change. As we all know, the aerosol is a well-known term in air pollution, and being a fine particulate matter, it has found to have a significant impact on human health. And further, these tiny particles have also found to have a significant impact on our climate system. So in today's talk, I will mostly discuss about the characteristics of these tiny particles and its climatic impacts. However, before that, I would like to briefly introduce about my institute where I am working now. So, ITEM headquarters is at Pune, which is a premier research institute established on 17th November 1962. So initially it was under the Department of Science and Technology, and since 2006 it comes under the Ministry of Earth Sciences. The main goal of ITEM is to generate the scientific knowledge in the field of meteorology and atmospheric sciences, which has potential applications like in agriculture, then economics, then health, water resources, transportation, etc. These are the major objective of item like to understand the monsoon variability and its prediction, then to understand the impact of atmospheric aerosols on climate system, and to understand the aerosol cloud climate interactions. Item has a center at New Delhi, where I'm presently working along with few other scientists. So our main goal is to understand the impact of atmospheric aerosols on climate system. Item has two major research laboratory presently working in the name of CIPEX, Cloud Aerosol Interaction and Precipitation Enhancement Experiment, which is at Solapur in the in the Maharashtra itself. And so the another research laboratory is at high altitude site, which is known as High Altitude Cloud Physics Laboratory, which is at Mahabaleshwar. So the main purpose of this SkyPex is to conduct the co-located airborne as well as integrated ground-based observations to at different part of India to understand the aerosol and cloud microphysics to so that one can plan for the cloud seeding experiment in various drought-prone regions to enhance the rain activity. Till now, four phases have been completed. First in 2009, which covered the major part of northern part of India, including Himalayan foothills. Then 2010 to 2011, second phase was conducted in the southern part of India. Then third phase from 2014 to 16 in again in northern part and central part of India. And the last phase, fourth phase, was conducted in 17 to 19 in the western part of India. So, further, this HSCPL High Altitude Cloud Physics Laboratory was mainly established to understand the microphysical and dynamical process which involves in various aerosol cloud precipitation interactions using various in situ as well as remote sensing measurements. So this site is mostly one of this site is one of the high altitude site in the situated in the Western Ghats. The height is approximately 1.5 kilometer from the mean sea level. So apart from these two research laboratory, our IITM has established one atmospheric research test bed facility with the help of Ministry of Earth Sciences at Bhopal in the central part of India, which comes under the core monsoon zone. The main purpose of establishing this center is which has a unique facility equipped with different kind of ground-based equipment which are relevant to measure the aerosols, then cloud, radiation, convection, precipitation, so many things, to understand the process governing monsoon convection over this core monsoon zone region. Okay, so now coming to the today's topic, like aerosol, briefly because most of the viewers are, as discussed with Dr. Palvi, are young scientists and also some pioneer researcher. So I kept my talk in basic as well as some technical things. So I'll discuss some basic of aerosols and their what are their impacts and measurements, along with some published results which we have published with the help of our PhD scholars and our colleagues. So aerosols are mostly one of the most important and certainly the most visible aspect of air pollution, which lies mostly within the atmospheric boundary layer in the lower troposphere. As aerosols are also tiny particles, as I mentioned in my title, which suspended into the atmosphere in the form of either solid or liquid, and due to their liquid phase, it is also known as hydrosols. These are the two. These are the different example of solid and liquid form of aerosols, like smoke, fly ash, dust, and in the liquid phase, it is mist, fog, and smog. The typical size is, you can see, it comes under 0.001 to 100 micrometer. Now, if we talk about their effect span, it is very vast, starting from it covers the area of health, then air quality and radiation, cloud microphysics, and then ultimately the climate change. All the effects are largely depends on their sizes, mass, and composition. So, if you talk about their classification based upon their sizes, we can classify it majorly it in two different sizes, like fine mode and coarse mode. Fine mode is mainly known from PM 2.5, where the particles comes within the diameter size of 2.5. So it further divided, altogether called air pollutants. It further, this fine mode particles are further divided into nucleation mode and accumulation mode. So this nucleation mode comes within the size range of 0.001 to zero point 0.2, which mainly influence the atmospheric electricity or lightning activity into the atmosphere. However, this accumulation mode size particles, which comes under zero point 0.2 to 2.5 micron in diameter, which mostly affect the atmospheric optics, radiation, along with cloud formation process. However, being this fine size, these particles are mostly influence the human health. And this accumulation mode and coarse mode particles are mostly affect the cloud as well as precipitation physics. Now, to understand their sizes in more precise way, this is the human hair cross section of diameter 50 to 70 micrometer, and you can see this PM 2.5 is about 20 times lesser as compared to the diameter of a human hair. However, if you talk about this PM10, it is about 5 times smaller as compared to the diameter of human hair. So you can see it is invisible kind of thing. However, this PM 2.5, however, this PM10 can be seen in the form of dust and bigger size of particles. Now, if you talk about this major sources of these aerosols, so we can see there are some mobile sources like airplane, then car, trucks, buses, etc. There are some stationary sources also like industries and power plant, sewage treatment plants. Apart from that, some area sources like some agriculture activities and activities in urban cities, which also comes in the area sources. So all these activities are related to the man-made activities. Because of that, it is known as man-made aerosols, man-made sources or anthropogenic sources. However, apart from this anthropogenic sources, there are some natural sources which comes from the natural processes like volcanic eruptions, then sea spray, wildfire activities, and so on. So on global scale, if you talk, this contribution of natural aerosols are much higher as compared to the anthropogenic aerosols. Why? Because our Earth land is around major part of our Earth is around covered by the ocean, which is the major source of sea spray from the natural side. However, if you go to the regional scale, especially near to the densely populated and industrial region, the cases are different. Over that reason, the anthropogenic sources are much dominant as compared to the natural sources. Now, based upon their sources, we can further classify into primary sources and primary resources and secondary resources. Primary resources are much easier to control because we know the exact source of these aerosols like SO2, then carbon monoxide, NOx, and CO2. However, secondary aerosols comes from the chemical reaction of these primary aerosols like gas to particle conversion, and uh, and it is very hard to control. And because of that, it play an important role to perturb our climate system. So it is very much essential to measure this and monitor this secondary aerosol and to understand their uh, characteristics into the atmosphere. So now coming to the role of atmospheric aerosols and gases, this GHG greenhouse gases into our climate system. So our climate system is consists of different aerosols and greenhouse gases, which comes from the different natural and anthropogenic sources. And as we all know, the natural greenhouse gases are very much crucial to sustain our life on Earth, planet Earth. as they absorb the outgoing emitted radiation from the Earth to keep our planet at a suitable temperature. This effect is known as greenhouse effect. However, the enhanced level of greenhouse gases, along with this aerosols, due to increased human-induced activity, may perturb our climate system. So, one example, what we are facing nowadays is this global warming, which is nothing but the slow rise in the mean Earth atmosphere temperature. The example which may lead to a consequences such as a reduction in glacier, which impact the sea level rise, and which may further affect the overall water budget of the Earth atmosphere. So this is the change in global mean temperature for the last 170 years, which clearly shows the impact of human-induced activity. This black one is observed one, and this uh, cyan color thing is the simulated one only for the natural activities like solar and volcanic activity. And this brown one is the simulation observed by including this man-made activity. So you can see it is much closer to the observed one, which clearly indicates a gradual increase in global mean temperature is because of increase in human induced activities like urbanization, industrialization, which are the major cause for the enhancement of these greenhouse gases as well as aerosols. And the global mean temperature was touched around up to 1.2 degrees Celsius, which is very much allowing for the which is very much allowing for our Earth system. Now, I would like to briefly show how this Earth water cycle works. Like the major source of energy at the Earth's surface is sun. Because of this, this evaporation takes place from the water bodies and evapotranspiration from the plants. So in this process, water goes into the atmosphere and condense at a certain level to form the cloud. And further, this water comes back in the form of rain through precipitation. So this way, this water cycle works. However, the enhanced global warming may create an imbalance to this hydrological cycle, which may ultimately perturb the whole climate system. Now, as per the IPCC report, past 3 years IPCC report, if you see this level of scientific understanding for greenhouse gases, this for greenhouse gases has been increased from high to very high. However, for if you compare it with for aerosol, it is still very low category. And the main the problematic thing is the uncertainty. The uncertainty in radiative forces for these aerosols are much higher as compared to the greenhouse gases, which is very much problematic. So this may be because of the inadequate measurement of aerosols on regional as well as global basis, and poor understanding on their role on Earth radiation budget. Because of that, only the proper understanding and assessment of these aerosols are very much essential to reduce these uncertainty in direct and indirect climate forcing. So I'll talk about some impact of aerosols, like aerosols generated from various natural sources as well as anthropogenic sources into the atmosphere, which interact with the incoming solar radiation through some part is scattered back, some part is absorbed, some part is reflected back, and ultimately it perturbs the Earth radiation budget, and it is known as direct impact of aerosols. So the main example of this direct effect of aerosol is visibility degradation. So you can see this first figure, when aerosol mass is 7.6, the visibility is good, very good. And then as this aerosol mass is increasing, the visibility is getting poorer and poorer. So this way you can understand the direct effect of aerosols. Now coming to the indirect impact of these aerosols. When the aerosol act as a cloud condensation nuclei to form the cloud. So here I have considered two different cases. Like first is aerosols in unpolluted region in clean site, and another in aerosols in polluted region. So first I'll talk about aerosols in clean region. So where the possibility of clean cloud will form, which contains this cloud droplets, rain droplets, along with ice crystals. So there is a possibility of more number of bigger size cloud and rain droplets and ice crystals. And because of more number of bigger size drops, the cloud albedo, which is nothing but the reflection of incoming solar radiation, will enhance. And further, because of their bigger droplets, there is a chance of more precipitation, and because of more precipitation, the lifetime of cloud is decreased. Now, coming to the another case of polluted aerosols in polluted region, because of that, the chances of polluted cloud is more, and in this case, the more possibility of more number of smaller size particles, cloud droplets, and less number of ice crystals are there present into the cloud. And in this case also, because since these are large number of smaller droplets, there is a possibility of enhancement of cloud albedo. It is known as first indirect impact. And now, since these droplets are smaller in size, there is a less precipitation possibility, and because of less precipitation, the chances of increased lifetime that will increase the lifetime of cloud. It is known as second indirect impact. Now, since these clouds are in polluted region, there is a chance of absorbing type of particles within the present within the cloud like black carbon. So, because of presence of absorbing type of particles, more absorption within the cloud will increase the evaporation of cloud droplets, and because of that, this cloud burning will take place, and due to this will decrease the lifetime of cloud. So there are two scenarios. In one scenario, when less precipitation is there due to the smaller size of cloud droplets, the cloud lifetime is increased. However, if the presence of absorbing type of particles are there, it will burn the cloud, and because of that, it will decrease the cloud lifetime. It is known as semi-direct effect. It is very complex in the actual atmosphere, so one has to understand each and every process. Now, there are these slides shows the measurement of aerosols. Like it can be measured on global basis along with as well as regional or local basis by using different remote sensing as well as numerical modeling. In the remote sensing, we basically use this ground-based measurement like LiDAR or other measurements radar is there. Then so many aerosol equipment like CISN counter is there. Apart from that, some airborne in situ measurements are there, which include this low altitude aircraft measurement along with balloons on deck. And also some space-borne technique is there, which uses this satellite to capture the spatial behavior of these aerosols over land as well as over the ocean. So I'll briefly introduce you some of the basic instruments which have been used for the aerosol measurements at the ground. So these are the aerosol sampler like PM10 and PM2.5. The main difference is in PM2.5, it has a PM2.5 impactor, which allows only PM2.5 particles over the filter. It is filter-based technique. So these are the filter before sampling and after sampling. You can see the difference, how this aerosol capture over the filter. Now there are another instrument called 8-stage Anderson cascade impactor, which simultaneously measure the aerosol particles, aerosol mass at 8 different stages, starting from 0.4 up to 9 micron sizes. However, the previous two samplers are providing information only for PM2.5 or PM10. Now, these sample filter were used to get their chemical composition or mass concentration of water soluble by using this ion chromatography technique. Or some part of these filter paper we use to get the information of mass concentration of organic and elemental carbon by using this OCAC analyzer through some thermal technique. Now, this very handy instrument called optical particle counter from GRIM. So it measures the aerosol number size distribution in 16 different size bins, starting from 0.23 up to 20 micrometer. So it has some limitation, like it cannot be operated in the high humidity condition. So we kept it in a house containing this silica gel. So air passes through the silica gel during the high humidity condition, and that will absorb the extra moisture before going into the instrument. Now, this is another instrument, important instrument, which is known as atherometer A33 model. So it measures the one of the highly component of the atmosphere called black carbon mass concentration, which is highly absorbing aerosol species into the atmosphere. It measures the black carbon at 7 different wavelengths, starting from ultraviolet up to near infrared region. So these spectral information of BC can be utilized to discriminate the black carbon emission sources between whether it is from biomass burning source or from coming from fossil fuel. Also, we have this nephelometer. So previous instrument measures specifically the absorbing part of aerosols, and this nephelometer measures the just a minute. This nephelometer measures the scattering property of these aerosols, like total scattering as well as backscatter coefficient at 3 different wavelengths under visible range at 450 nanometers, then 550 and 700 nanometers. Now, this is one of the unique instrument, sun sky radiometer, which measures the columnar aerosol optical properties from the ground. Like all the previous instruments measures the near surface aerosol characteristics. However, this particular instrument measures the columnar aerosol properties from the vertical column. So it provides the relatively important columnar aerosol optical properties like aerosol optical depth, which is nothing but the total loading of aerosol particles in a vertical column. Apart from that, it about columnar water vapor. Then angstrom exponent. It provides the information whether the particles are in bigger size or smaller size. If the AE value, angstrom exponent value is low, it means the presence of contribution of bigger size particles are more as compared to smaller particles. However, the high value of AE represents the presence of major contribution from smaller size particles. So it also calculates the fine and coarse mode fraction and size distribution. So apart from that, it gives the information about single scattering albedo, which is also one of the most important parameter of atmospheric aerosols, which provide the information whether the particles are in absorbing kind or scattering kind. So it varies between 0 to 1. So near zero SSA value represents the presence of highly absorbing type of aerosols, and near 1 value of SSA represents the highly scattering type of particles into the atmosphere. So all these aerosol properties are used in a radiative transfer model to get their radiative forcing into the atmosphere. So I'll discuss this in the later slide. So this instrument particularly provides the information about incoming solar radiation, which is known as pyranometer. So after scattering, a refraction, after all the kind of process, it reaches at the surface near to the instrument and provides the information about incoming solar radiation. So this is one typical example, like the solar radiation diurnal variability of the solar radiation during clear sky day. You can see the peak was observed in the afternoon time, and this is the case for hazy or polluted sky condition during the winter period. The pattern is same, but the magnitude is different. Magnitude about 40 or 45% less solar radiation were observed during the winter period. So there is a possibility of either it is absorbed by the aerosol if the absorbing particles are more, or it is scattered back towards the top of the atmosphere if more scattering type of particles are present. And this is the case for cloudy sky. So apart from this, all the previous instruments are very much bulky. It is very difficult to um, difficult to operate from one place to another place. However, we have some handy equipment like microtops. It also provides the information about column integrated spectral optical properties of aerosols along the water vapor and ozone. It has 2 units. One is called sun photometer, which provides the information about aerosol optical depth, and water vapor. And this ozonometer will provide information about columnar ozone. And also we have this microethylometer A51, which gives the information about black carbon at a single channel 880 nanometer. Like previously, I showed you one A33 model, which provides at 7 different elements. But this particular equipment, handy equipment, provide real-time information about BC at single channel. Okay, so now coming to the results. So I before starting, I acknowledge my PhD scholars and my colleagues for this whatever I'm presenting now. So before that, I would like to explain the characteristics of aerosol with their complex nature over the IGP region. So you can see the complex nature of aerosols and spatial heterogeneity in aerosol loading is because it over the IGP region is mostly because it is surrounded by different emission sources like crop biomass burning in the northwest part of India, then dust storm activities in the western part of India, and also forest fire in the central as well as eastern part of India, including this industrial, local industrial pollution. And also it has a unique orographic nature, surrounded by Himalayas to the north, then Arabian Sea to the east, west, and Bay of Bengal to the east region, which makes the region hotspot for aerosol research. Now, Delhi is situated somewhere here, which mostly influenced by crop biomass burning and dust storm activity during different season. Like during the post monsoon period, it mostly influenced by the crop biomass burning activities in the Punjab Haryana region. However, during the pre monsoon or summer season, it mostly influenced by the dust storm activity from the nearby desert region. Now, as we all know, these deep convective activities are mostly occur over the region during the summer monsoon period, which may play an important role in uplifting of these boundary layer aerosol up to the higher altitude. That will disturb the overall vertical distribution of aerosols over this region. Now, this is the first result. So, this is the time series analysis of near surface aerosol pollutants at Delhi uh, for the period from 2005 and 2012. So, dot shows the daily variability, and this month solid line shows the its monthly variability. So this horizontal dotted line shows this national ambient air quality standard of all these pollutants. So you can see about except SO2, all the like NO2 was found to be about 27% days exceed to their national ambient air quality standard. However, PM10 and SPM was about 87 and 98% days exceed to their NAQS level, and SO2 was found to be well within the limit, which is about 80. SO2 was NAQS limit is 80 microgram per meter cube, and that could be due to the reason like several preventive measures have been implemented time to time by the government of India as well as Delhi government to control the pollution level. Now, this is the monthly mean variability of these pollutants. So you can see uh, two different peaks were observed, which is most the first peak in summer period, like April and May season, April and May month, and the secondary peak was observed in during the post monsoon period. So the first peak was more pronounced during the for the PM10 and SPM, which was found to be associated with the transported mineral dust aerosols over the region during that period. However, the secondary peak was found to be pronounced for all the all the species, and which are largely associated with the agriculture biomass burning from the northern side of India. And this is the interannual variability of all the four species. You can see that a slight increasing trend was observed for PM10, SPM, and NO2, which was found to be closely associated with the total registered motor vehicle in Delhi during the study period. You can see the slight gradual increase in the registered motor vehicle over Delhi during that study period. However, the slight decreasing trend in SO2 was found because the use of low sulfur content in petrol and automobile fuels. Apart from that, use of cleaner fuel in transport as well as domestic purposes. Because nowadays, most of the vehicles are CNG, or Delhi government and government of India is promoting this e-vehicle, so that will also influence this reduction of this sulfur dioxide over the region. Now, to understand the major source sector of these pollutants, we have done some clustered air mass trajectory analysis during the study period and found that Delhi received about 42% of days coming from the northwest region, this black line, which are largely associated with the agriculture biomass burning period. However, we have found some association with the trajectory occurrence as well as pollutants. And when the higher mass concentration of all the pollutants are found to be largely associated with the trajectory coming from the northwest region. However, the lowest mass concentration was observed when the trajectory was found coming from southeast direction, which is about 17% only. These are some points I would like to highlight, like the air quality and its surrounding region was recognized more than a decade, and several preventive measures have been considered time to time by the government of India and Delhi government to control the pollution level, like shutting down the hazardous industries, the ban of use of diesel vehicle, which are more than 10 years old, then the use of sulfur content of various automobile fuel, then use of cleaner fuels in domestic purposes and as well as transport purposes. Apart from that, some Delhi government has implemented this traffic intervention odd even policy, which was implemented but for a very shorter period of time, for 15 days in two different phases. But then also this air quality has not been improved. And recently, a national clean air program was launched by the Ministry of Environmental and Forest, MOFCC, aiming to reduce this air pollution, mainly targeting PM 2.5 level up to 20 to 30% in various non-attainment cities, which has been identified as the most polluted city in India. And currently, the pollution level of these cities are significantly higher than the prescribed national standard. So it is still on, and I think 2026 was the targeted period. So we are waiting for the final result. So now this is another study we have done based upon a satellite thing. This is the decadal monthly mean variability of aerosol optical depth across India. So you can see is large spatial heterogeneity were observed across India, and which are more pronounced and higher loading over the northern part of India, especially over the IGP region during all the months. So you can see this during post-monsoon and post-monsoon period and the summer period, it is much higher as compared to the other period and other part of India. Now, we have considered two different locations, Lucknow and Delhi. Delhi is in the southwest part of India, part of IGP, and then Lucknow is the central part of IGP. So this shows the day-to-day variability, decadal variability of four different aerosol optical properties, like aerosol optical depth, angstrom exponent, then single scattering albedo, and aerosol index. So, except SSA, all the aerosol properties at both the stations were found to be enhanced by about 15 to 20% as compared to other cities. So you can see, so Delhi AOD was found to be enhanced by about 21% as compared at Lucknow as compared to Delhi. Delhi is about 20%. However, if we talk about this aerosol index, which uh, provides the information about whether the particles are absorbing or whether biomass burning dominant sources are there or dust dominant sources are there, it is about 20% higher at enhancement level is about 20% higher at Lucknow. However, it is 25% higher at Delhi. So to understand it more, we have done some annual mean of each aerosol parameter, which has been normalized uh, to that in 2007. So you can see that the AOT was relatively higher over Delhi as compared to Lucknow. So that means the overloading of aerosol pollutants at Delhi is higher as compared to Lucknow. However, if we talk about their sizes, the relatively dominance of fine mode aerosols was found to be higher at Lucknow as compared to Delhi, because at Lucknow the values are relatively higher. AE values are relatively higher as compared to Delhi. So the sizes are much lower as compared to Delhi. And if we talk about this SSA and AI, so all together uh, provide the information about relative dominance of absorbing type of aerosols at Delhi as compared to Lucknow. Now we have done some source apportionment study by using this emission inventory for PM10 over Delhi and Lucknow. So a significant increase in total contribution of PM10 was observed at Delhi, which is about three times higher as compared to Lucknow. However, if we talk about a specific source sector, Delhi was found to be dominated by resuspended dust. However, Lucknow was found to be dominated by the residential activities more as compared to Delhi. Now, because the previous study shows the overall composite aerosol optical property, so we have done some study based upon aerosol chemistry to quantify the optical and radiative characteristics of this individual aerosol species, like what are the characteristics of sulfate, then nitrate, then organic carbon, elementary carbon, and so on. So we have this is the flowchart how we obtain these optical properties and radiative forcing from the measured aerosol chemical data. So the measured aerosol chemical data along with other parameters like black carbon were used in an aerosol optical model called opaque optical properties of aerosol and cloud. So this provides an information about the aerosol optical properties like aerosol optical depth, SSA, asymmetric parameter, which have been used to estimate the radiative forcing. So first, after getting this information from the opaque, first we have validated with the available measurements of these parameters, and then used in a radiative transfer model to get the radiative forcing at uh, three different atmospheric structure like top of the atmosphere, then surface and atmosphere. So by simulating this, we also use this ozone, columnar ozone, then water vapor along with the surface albedo, which is most prominent parameter to govern this radiative forcing, whether it is towards heating or cooling. So by using this atmospheric forcing, we also estimate this atmospheric heating rate. So these are the results. The first figure shows the aerosol optical depth for total along with the species wise. So you can see that the sulfate was found to be contributed highest, about 36% to the total aerosol optical depth, this red bar. However, the lowest contribution was observed for organic carbon. How now, if you see this direct radiative forcing into the atmosphere, the elemental carbon, which have been found only 3% to the total PM 2.5, their contribution, but it contributes highest, about 70% to the total direct radiative forcing and associated heating rate. So this blue bar. And the second highest contribution was observed for organic carbon, because sulfate and nitrate was the least contribution into the direct radiative forcing. That means it behaves as a scattering type of particles into the atmosphere. So now coming to this summary and future direction. So studies shows that the entire IGP region has enhanced aerosol loading with different composition, which has large spatial heterogeneity in their characteristics and found to have significant impact on our climate system. Though the next three points are very much important and can be taken as a challenge to estimate this. Like IGP region is surrounded by various emission sources. However, proper assessment of mixing as well as coating along with their morphological study of various aerosol species and their impact assessment have not been well quantified so far. However, the IGP region also experienced this hazy and foggy conditions over the region, mostly during the winter period. However, detailed knowledge of the possible interaction between the near surface aerosol along with their occurrence of fog has not been well established. Also, the influence of aerosol composition on visibility degradation has to be quantified. Last but not the least, like study to understand the possible impact of various air pollutants on human health is also one of the is also very much essential over the region like IGP, which have been found that the high population uh, over the IGP is under the threat of these hazardous pollutants. So these 3 points can be taken as a challenge or research point from the upcoming this new researcher uh, to study these. So with this, I stop my presentation here. Thank you.